One thing that keeps me going in my decision making for my life and what I want and don't want in life, and also keeps me confident, is you have to be okay with not being liked. You have to be okay with being the villain in other people's stories. One of the most common things I get asked on this channel is how I can be so confident in my child-free decisions and how I've remained confident with that decision and not folded under societal and traditional pressures. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down what it actually means to be confident within yourself, what it actually looks like, what it also doesn't look like, and how to remain confident in your child-free and or partner or marriage-free decisions. If you're under 30, this is definitely for you. What is up, people? A very warm welcome back or to another video. If you're both old and new around here, I'm super grateful to have you come and join us for another video, and a very happy new year. I wanted to start this video off just by making two things very clear before I continue. Confidence is not an end product. It's not the final destination. You don't just do one thing in life and magically you become confident. That's not how it works. Confidence is built through time, and it's built through experiences. That's why you usually find older people tend to have more confidence and belief in themselves on the basis that they've just simply lived longer and had more life experiences. I am not doing this video because I think I'm the most confident person in the world. I don't. There are loads of things that I don't feel confident in doing and saying. There are loads of times and periods of my life where I don't have any confidence at all, or my confidence is at an all-time low. I still have my days where I wake up and I just don't feel confident in myself. That's because sometimes life happens and it can be fickle, and confidence can be affected by what you're going through in that period of time. So it can be your career, it can be your friends, it can be a partner. Anyone and anything can disrupt your confidence. It doesn't mean you completely lose it. It just means it's a little bit disrupted and there's a kind of blip in how you're feeling about yourself that can affect your self-esteem for a short amount of time, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you either lack confidence or you have confidence. It just depends on circumstances that you're currently going through. The mistake I made when I was much younger is I used to think that one day I was going to wake up and I was just magically going to be confident. I knew I didn't have any confidence, but I used to think when I was in my 20s, I used to just assume, oh, I can't wait for my 30s because I'm just going to be confident. I didn't ever used to think about how I was going to get confident or what was going to contribute to my increase in confidence. I just assumed that one day I was going to wake up and just feel better about myself. But I soon learned that it doesn't actually work like that. And you have to actually do the inner work. One thing I always remind myself, and for any others who were to ask me this question, is I would say to them, confidence is built through action, not hype. And I want you to pause the video, write that down, jot it down in your phone, journal it somewhere, because that for me is like the epitome of confidence, is understanding that it comes through action and doing instead of just hyping yourself up or reading motivational quotes or buying the next big thing that's out there, be that a car, a handbag, shoes. Don't get me wrong, these things can help. And I do understand when people go and buy designer stuff or nice things or nice flashy cars, I do understand to a degree, it is a little boost of confidence. And I totally get that. I buy myself nice things all the time, but not to necessarily boost my confidence, but in that moment, it makes me feel good. But I also understand that these things are fickle. They never last long. So if you're someone who's relying on things like nice shoes, nice bags, flashy cars, etc., then these things might last for a small amount of time. But in the long run, these things are just hype. A prime example of this is like when I was a personal trainer. This is why I never used to listen to people who were saying, I'm going to sign up on X date or Y date. Personally, I would just switch off. When someone starts doing things and they start showing me that they're serious about what they say they're going to do, that's when I realize, like, this is a person who's working on themselves. This is a person who is taking action on what they want. And this is somebody who is serious about said thing that they want. A lot of the time, society wants to bash women for feeling confident about themselves. That's why a lot of the time when there are confident, happy women, there's always someone trying to humble them or bring them down a peg or two, or trying to do something along the lines to kind of trip them up while they're in a process of either feeling good about themselves or a process of trying to feel good about themselves. Because like I said, it's a process, it's not necessarily an end product or a destination. One thing that keeps me confident is understanding that when other people have a problem with me being able to speak my mind, with me being able to stand up for myself, with me being able to stick to my decisions, is that other people's insecurities are not my problem. And this is a very, very hard lesson that I had to learn very early on, is that other people's insecurities are not my problem. And I want you to remember that when you're watching this and you come across people who are triggered by your decision making, upset by you making a different decision about your lifestyle to their lifestyle, that's their insecurities, that's their fears, that's their problem. It is not your problem. It is not your responsibility to dim your light or to bring yourself down a peg or two, or to like be quiet or to say less or whatever it is that society wants us to do. That is not your problem. As well as understanding how confidence is built and how the journey is not linear, and it never is linear, is understanding that society as a whole tends to benefit better when women are insecure and indecisive and not sure what they want and in a state of confusion and in a conflict, because you're easier to manipulate when you're like that. Not only are you easier to manipulate when you're in a vulnerable spot, when you're feeling shit about yourself constantly, when you're unsure about what you want, or you're in a people-pleasing mode all the time, but when you're easier to manipulate, then you're easier to buy into hype. When people are insecure, they're easy to sell to. This is why so many companies and brands do so well, especially like cosmetic surgery companies, makeup brands, weight loss companies. This is why they sell so easily, because not only do they create hype, but the more insecure and the more someone lacks in confidence, the more likely they are to buy into hype. And I'm not saying this to knock anybody down. I'm saying this as someone who's been that person and who has bought into hype many times. And every single time I bought into it, it was because I wasn't feeling sure of myself. It was because I was feeling so much doubt, so much insecurity. And whatever hype was being sold to me, I thought that was the end product, and I thought that would magically make me feel better about myself. And of course, it didn't. Probably the biggest example of buying into hype is when women fall for the hype of marriage and motherhood, because it's sold to them as like this end product that once you're there, you're going to feel amazing. And it's going to be this utopia, and you're never going to have a bad day in your life, and you're never going to feel shit about yourself ever again. And that is why it's a trap, because a lot of people buy into it not really knowing what it entails. But how do you build actual confidence? I'm going to be going through a few things right now that have worked for me. And they've worked over a course of about 2 decades. Yeah, almost 2 decades. But please remember, this isn't linear. There's no end product. I'm still not at the end of my learning curve because I'm about to enter my 40s. So fuck knows what else is waiting for me at the end. Number 1 is actually traveling. As soon as I was old enough to, I got out of my hometown, and I strongly suggest you get out of your hometown if you can and when you can. You don't necessarily have to travel far and wide. Just travel far enough to get away from your hometown and actually meet different people who think differently to you, who look differently to you, who sound different to you, and just learn. I remember as a kid saying all the time, I can't wait to get out of London. I can't wait to get out of London. I can't wait to travel. Bearing in mind, I'm from a really big city. I'm from a really big multicultural city. And everyone used to say to me, why do you want to leave London for? It's got absolutely everything. And it does to a degree. But do you know what? I was just getting sick of hearing the same conversations all the time, listening to the same people moaning about the same fucking things. Everything that everyone moans about in London is likely still the same. Everyone moans about how it's too expensive, but everyone still stays there. I just wanted to see anything but the 4 walls of my hometown. And I think this is important for loads of people. I think it's really important that everyone leaves their hometown just so that you can see that there are other people other than yourself. One thing I said as a teenager was, and I said this to my parents, I was like, when I'm old enough, I'm going to buy a ticket to Australia. And they were like, why are you going there for? It's like so far away. Why would you want to go there for? And once I was old enough and I had some money behind me, I went and booked my ticket to Australia. And that brings me on to my second point of sticking to your word, because there is nothing better and more satisfying than saying you're going to do something and actually doing it and sticking to your words. Because not only are you building your own confidence and your own self-trust, but you're showing other people how to be with you. You're showing other people, I don't mess around. You're showing other people, I don't fuck around with my words. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm actually going to do it. And you can stick to your word with loads of different things in your life. It doesn't have to just be traveling. If that's not your cup of tea, you can do it with other stuff as well. You can stick to your word when you say, oh, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to start getting healthier. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to try and get 5,000 steps, 10,000 steps, whatever it is. As long as you stick to your word and you say what you're going to do, you start to gently build trust within yourself that you're going to actually do things and stick to them. So when you say, oh, I don't want kids when I'm older, you are going to intimidate a lot of people and you are going to piss a lot of people off, because not only are you not going along with the status quo, but you're showing people that you're decisive, that you know yourself and what you want and what you don't want. You're also showing people you don't fuck around. Another thing which has helped me build my confidence is being decisive. Now, this might obviously tie in to the point previously, but being decisive in what you really, really want. And this can sometimes sound a little bit difficult because a lot of people might watch this and be like, but I don't know what I want. Now, I want you to understand that is totally fine. Not everybody knows what they want in any given moment. That's the whole point of life, is that we're experiencing things, we're learning as we go along. If you're open to learning opportunities and you're open to new experiences, then you get more opportunities to decide on things that you definitely do and don't want. So me leaving my hometown, living abroad, going traveling, most of it being solo before I met my husband, that actually allowed me to be more open to like, oh, actually, what do I really want? For example, living abroad showed me that that was just hype. Living abroad in that specific place that I went to wasn't what it was cracked up to be, because I believed in the hype and I didn't make that decision from an empowered state. I made it from a fear state. And that's a prime example of like making poor decisions when you believe hype over following your own inner compass. The worst thing that you can do, in my personal humble opinion, the worst thing is, oh, I'm going to let the universe decide. I'm going to let God decide. Now, don't get me wrong. I do believe in fate to a degree, but I also believe that we have the ability to kind of steer where we're going. One thing people say to me is, oh, what if it was in your fate to have had kids and you chose not to? And it's just a prime example, because yes, that could have been in my fate, but I chose I didn't want it. But the bottom line is, there's fate, but then there's your decision making, and the two can correlate, in my personal opinion. Yes, the lighting has changed. I've had to put the blind down because the sun is literally right on my window, like right here. Not the worst thing in the world, but one thing that keeps me going in my decision making for my life and what I want and don't want in life, and also keeps me confident, is you have to be okay with not being liked. You have to be okay with being the villain in other people's stories. Understanding that no matter what I do in my life, I'm going to be pissing someone else off. I'm going to be the villain in someone's story. So just choose what it is you want to do. Either way, you're going to be pissing someone else off. Either way, you're going to be a villain to someone. So you might as well just do whatever it is that you want to do. And then at least when you're on your deathbed, you can lay there and be like, at least I lived my life authentically and I didn't bow down to society's pressures. Keep that in mind. And if you've come this far, thank you so, so much for joining. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give this video a massive thumbs up, and I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Peace out.